Namaste. I'm Sreyoshi Day, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the next event of the Rasa Festival as we continue through our season. For the festival, we have curated a rich variety of programs, and we have been bringing them to you over several months, 1 to 2 events per month. It is a great pleasure and honor for us to present renowned artists from the US and India, as well as other parts of South Asia, and across a wide range of art forms such as dance, music, theater, film, poetry, visual art, and photography. Today, I'm delighted to present a fantastic visual arts exhibition curated by the noted artist from Shantiniketan in India, Chandrima Bhattacharyya. You may remember that Chandrima had curated our acclaimed visual arts exhibition last year as well. We have 6 well-known artists in the exhibition today: Aditi, Ganeev, Sanwan, Archana Rajguru, Lala, Rukh, Selim, Priyanka Bardiya, Saraswati Renata, and Sudatta, Basu, Choudhury. These artists are truly amazing women creating important art. And in the words of Chandrima, even though these women have a varied approach to their work, the common point of interest that drew her to them is their absolute and complete connection with something deep inside their artistic instinct, that is, primeval. Chandrima will take you on a fascinating journey through the world of art of these brilliant artists. As always, we are grateful to the Ann Arbor District Library for partnering with us for the Rasa Festival and providing their valuable technical assistance. We hope to see you at the next festival event.
Namaste. I'm Chandrima Bhattacharyya from Shantiniketan. Like last year, Sreyoshi Dey has very gracefully asked me to curate another show for this year's Rasa Festival. And this year too, I have decided to select 6 artists, 6 women artists of my choice from India, and by chance one from Bangladesh. I have selected women artists because being a woman, I can resonate with them. And being given the choice of selecting my artists, obviously I would select artists with whom I can relate, whose work I can relate. So I have selected the 6 artists of my choice, and their names are Aditi, Ganeev, Sanwan, Archana Rajguru, Lala, Rukh, Selim, or Todi as we call her, from Bangladesh, Priyanka Bardiya from Rajasthan, and Saraswati, who is actually a Russian who lives in Pondicherry since 2004, and Sudatta, Basu, Choudhury. This year's selection of artists are on the basis of different kinds of works that they do and in the different mediums that they work with. All the mediums are very interesting, and what I like about their working process and their style is that they are very individualistic. Like last year, a batch of artists, they do not follow any fad or fashion, and which is why I have chosen them, of course. And they work in a very unique style, and their imagery is very different from each other's. The working process is very, very different from each other's. The process, of course, the process of work is different. The mediums are different, and which makes this body of works in the whole exhibition a very interesting. I hope you will enjoy this exhibition as much as I have enjoyed curating it. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Hello everyone, myself Aditi Ganeev Sanwan. I would like to thank organizers of Rasa Festival as well as curator Chandrima Bhattacharyya for giving me this opportunity of showcasing my works and to be with you all through my art practice on this platform. I can call myself fortunate enough to have worked as an artist on epistemological as well as pedagogical platforms simultaneously till this date. And as an individual, if I say, I'm a multitasking being, and that makes me do a lot of things simultaneously at one point of time. As an artist also, I see these reflections in my art practice because I am a painter, I am a printmaker, and then I do artist works. I work in mixed media where I incorporate fabric and paper both simultaneously or individually. I do installation projects as well as I do creative writing, and my text also becomes part of my work on and off. A lot of times, I would say. So there are a lot of things happening around in my studio at the same time. And this studio space is also very important to give directions to my works, because lately my living space has turned into my studio space. That makes it essential for me that it has to be a safe space because it is a shared space with my kids. So it has to be less toxic, it has to be safe, nothing too fragile can work in it, and and it has to be in harmony with all the occupants. So that also gives direction to my work. My inspiration comes from my immediate surroundings, so there are elements of their presence in my art also. And art making in itself is a very addictive process to me because it has this point of imagination till realization has a lot of interesting aspects in between. These intermediate stages, these experiments, these surprises, they are something I just love to do. And that makes me curious again and again what can come next, what new thing can be added on this, and a lot of experiments, a lot of activity actually happens over there in this in between thing. And most of my works are interrelated and interdependent. I can see that some kind of osmosis is going on, and this oozing of energy in creative process is something I love to do. And these works which you are going to see today are majorly done in cyanotype, which is used for its archival properties, as well as I had to document certain lived and freeze certain important experiences which I did through these handprints. So I'm responding in these projects to the element of growth in life while addressing to transformations, concerns and issues of families, conflicts, silence and dialogues within families and relationships. There are a lot of subtle things going on in all these projects which people can relate to. I hope you are going to enjoy. Thank you.
Aditi Ganeev Sanwan is one of those artists who live and breathe art every waking moment of their lives. Aditi has trained in both painting and printmaking during her BFA and MFA studies in Chandigarh and Kala Bhavan Shantiniketan, respectively. Aditi's attitude towards printmaking took a sharp turn when she discovered cyanotype printing, and thereafter she went into it with a maverick yet playful attitude. She has literally involved her life and children, her surroundings, in this series of work and made it an organic extension of herself, unlike most artists that we know. Cyanotype printing was developed in the mid 19th century and later adapted as an inexpensive method for reproducing photographs, documents, maps, and plans. The architecture term blueprint has endured since then. Aditi's work in this medium started with the birth of her second child. Aditi herself has penned down her processes so eloquently that I decided to read excerpts from what she herself had written about her experiences simultaneously to her work. Most of this is in the poetry format. So here goes. The postpartum project. The idea is the main driving force to execute such a crucial, palpable state of mind and body. I felt this necessity to record immediately the process which was impactful in transforming me into someone who is no more the same, even a couple of hours before 11th of November 2018. Birth of a baby brings joy to everyone in the family, and a mother extends a portion of herself into the world. The postpartum phase is experienced differently by all those who go through it. Trauma of labor pain persists as drama in dreams. After effects of anesthesia bring illusion to the world, from stretch marks to stained, stretched sheets. Postpartum addresses psychology, physiology, as the loose muscles keep in tussle to be back what then seemed normal. Then slowly realization and acceptance creeps in. This is the new you. There are a few very important aspects of this project. Place of execution is the hospital ward where I recovered post C-section for my second baby. My father is a doctor, and it's at our nursing home where this idea was conceived and executed in such a short frame of time. The place is equally significant in the process. Cyanotype as a medium because I wish to freeze the emotional turmoil and the cold chills of this experience. These could be best depicted with the use of some kind of blue. After the C-section, holding the warmth of my baby in my arms and being cared for by my mother was like collating 3 generations into one. Archival quality of the medium was in itself a metaphor for this whole tri-generation event of my life. I have also used stencils and crochet. These crocheted pieces added a historical significance to the compositions, since they are from my mother's ancestral collection and have their own stories to tell. Entangle is to tangle. Entangle is to tangle is in integration with daily activities during lockdown. It's about untangling the nuances of toddlers scribbling and screaming, untangling the nuances of middle childhood's adventures and questions, untangling the nuances of an uncertain present and surviving phase of a perplexed motherhood. Tangle is consequence of this very quandary. It turned into a thrilling expression and experience, blend of ideas, conversation, and spontaneity through cyanotype, natural dye, drawing, applique, stencils, photographs, writing, stitching, turning living into studio into exhibition space, turning experimenting into creating into compiling lived moments into visuals. Entangle is to tangle is the current phase. It's consuming, it's draining. Still, it's a fantastic experience with them. Next is the land of expectations. In between background and foreground of pandemic and its fright, in the land of expectations, thrives hope. It is fed by reason, patience, illusion, reality, rhyme, silence, and even confusion. Land of expectations is fertile. Here seeds are taken care of by curiosity, giggles, laughter, and love that knows no inhibitions. Land of expectations knows no boundaries or borders, knows no barriers of language, is just an enchanting world of purity in pursuit of infinity. Land of expectations derives its existence from our imaginative world, scribbling, drawing, fascination, aspiration, and interactions are frozen in time through poetry, cyanotype, natural dye, and eco-prints. Like a collector, my choice of materials conceptually pushes material boundaries. Likewise, scale of artworks too, at times become a necessary element for pure documentation. Even if access to technology and material is denied for circumstantial reasons like say, lockdown during the pandemic. In this case, cyanotype as a medium introduced the possibility of permutations and combinations of material and experience. This project is majorly based on positive and creative capabilities of child art as an inspiration. The unself conscious imaginary drawings by my 7-year-old son inculcated in me the unlearning of my own academic art training, while I copied or traced the doodles of my children to make negatives and arrange their small drawings into huge panels for a singular image. Embraced unconditionally. Inhibition to start is not a part of child's play. The series of hybrid prints is about relationships looking for synergy as trajectories are rising. These are a series of 60 postcard size hybrid printed images in cyanotype and etching. An equation between curious childhood spirits immersed in nature and norms of conditioning prevalent in society introduced by adults is represented respectively by the two different mediums of sun printing and etching. Next work is Tale to Fable. These little heartbeats mention a tale about careless and carefree symphony of wild as they continued entering and leaving human regimes. Urgency of these feet, fluttering of these wings mentioned a tale about doubt and belief as regeneration counterattacks the loss. Combining passion with purpose and disseminating the sense of why provides fuel to my expression. This work is executed in wet cyanotype process. It is a simple act of making multiple impressions of found feathers with turmeric and soap water. I was trying to keep organic essence of the concept intact. The world witnessed horrific sights of immense human loss. This was a phase when I was reflecting upon the idea of loss in its literal and philosophical terms. Though nothing is permanent and transformation is inevitable. I planned a project which was staged for an experiential video and photographic documentation in a chicken coop. First rule of manifestation is intention. So, following my instincts, I did this performance come installation based project. Here we come to the end of Aditi's narrative. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Archana Rajguru. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizers of Rasa Festival for creating such a beautiful platform for the artist. Little bit about my background. I have done my graduation from Shantiniketan in painting and masters in printmaking from Baroda MS University. After my studies, I did work as a freelance artist for few years and worked in animation industry as an animator and taught animation in several colleges and institutes. Basically, I work in various mediums, and the work which I am showing here is the project presently I am working on Human Head series. They are mainly based on facial expressions, different type of expressions and emotions I try to portray. They are in the form of mask and but not wearable, and at times the head appears quite distorted and exaggerated, and I think the exaggeration part comes from my animation experience. To create the mask, first I make a mold with paper mache and create another layer on top of it using knitting yarn, and I select color according to the mood and the expression of the mold. Actually, handling thread is an obsession from my childhood, and I always look different ways to incorporate it into my art practice. And this is the first project where I am using it in the form of crochet, and it's a long process of trial and error. And with each mask, I learn few new things, and with each one of them, I am exploring and evolving. Thank you.
Archana Rajguru liked making things with yarns as a young girl growing up in Assam. But she studied painting when she took her admission at Kalabhavan Shantiniketan. From painting, Archana later went on to work as an animator in a well known studio in Hyderabad, from where she moved on to NID Ahmedabad, a premier design institute of India, to teach animation. But strings that she had fiddled with in her girlhood had a stronger pull on her, and she gave in to this pull and went back to working with them. At first, Archana worked on embroidering her thoughts and concerns. These are not studies in typical needlework exhibiting her prowess with the needle and thread, showing various kinds of stitches. Rather, they are frenetic, plain running stitches, working out a picture of some deep seated thought concerning some issue or other, personal or social. For Archana, the yarn and the way she uses it in these embroidered pictures are as color and line in a drawing. The monster lamp and the cycle of life and the apocalypse are made with the same plain running stitches, only the way she has placed them has changed the expression and meaning of the works. The first work, The Monster Lamp, expressed her agitation over the greed of industrialists that led to the oil well burning for days and weeks and causing widespread pollution in the surrounding forests and villages through wavy zigzag stitches in colors of fire and smoke. She has depicted the villages as outlines of tiny, minimalistic rural hut forms, while the major portion of the work is taken up by the bright yellow and orange fire belching out billowing dark smoke, thus highlighting the enormity of the pollution spread over miles of land. The second work has a serenity defined by concentric circle of even stitches converging into central focal point. The simplicity of the plain running stitches repeat itself in concentric lines radiating out from the red dense darkness of the center into gradually widening and lightening circles outward or inward as one reads it. Speaks of a meditative mind and nimble fingers working on it intently for a long time, gradually becoming at one with it, and the whole action becoming like chanting of the Om mantra, resonating out in a circular manner like sound waves in the manner of a Thangka artist's work. The title Circle of Life can also be interpreted in other ways, but it would always bear the metaphor of some aspect of life that is profoundly philosophical. Apocalypse, the third work, is just the opposite in spirit. On contemplation, the abstract scene suddenly appears in bird's eye view as a pyramidal mountain exploding and spewing red lava depicted in red stitches flying haywire. The stitches are uneven in length and thickness, appearing dense and disturbed, going this way and that, the spirit of anger and doom expressed in the way they have been executed, as though in a frenzy. It's not paint and brush that the artist is wielding that gives more immediacy to the action, as a stream of consciousness thinks up the scene, but a hand holding a needle with a trailing thread that must have worked very quickly in a frenzy to keep up with the thought as it flew out with the fire and hot debris. Very expressionistic needlework and a culmination of excellence in her embroidered pieces. And then come the masks. Looking at them, they don't appear mask like at all, but rather like portraits in yarn. Masks are supposed to hide inner feelings of the wearer or depict a different persona if they are worn in a traditional theatre like the No Theatre of Japan or the Kathakali dance drama of Kerala, India. Tribal cultures of the world like Africa, Indonesia, British Columbia, etc., they have been used for magical or voodoo purposes to cure people or cast a spell on them or even in traditional dances. But Archana's masks are contemporary in a manner that they seem to portray real people, albeit in an expressionistic manner. Her masks, too, are made through an arduous two pronged process. First, she makes the armature in papier mache and fixes their forms and expression lines. Then she knits patches with different colored yarns and puts them all together with stitches over the molds to finish the masks. These mask faces are abrim with liveliness and myriad expressions. There was a 19th century Belgian painter named James Ensor who once wrote that reason and nature are the enemy of the artist. He painted his figures with mask like faces. In a strange way, Archana's faces reminded me of Ensor's mask faces, which incongruously sit on realistic bodies. Archana Rajguru's works are a disturbing mix of real and abstract, and the expression in their eyes is sometimes downright disconcerting, for they seem to be looking right at and into you, like Nagraj, for example, whose cold, light blue, unsmiling eyes with sardonically arched eyebrows resemble a snake like gaze, while his lips are widened in a smirk, imparting the countenance with a mean and cruel expression. Then there is the red colored mask named Sanghamitra, whose eyes, contrary to Nagraj's, are a warm brown, benign, and pleasant, while the lips wear a smiling and benevolent expression. The face, with its bald pate, carries a monk like demeanor, hence her name, Sanghamitra, who was one of Buddha's most devoted early devotees. But the most remarkable are those masks which have open mouths with their tongues either hanging out exaggeratedly far down, as in greed, or the more realistically presented as in the laughing face of Mr. Woo Ha Ha. This face by far is the most realistic of the lot. Mr. Woo Ha Ha's face is stretched and crinkled up just as when a man laughs out loud and from his gut. His eyes are almost shut and the telltale pupils seemingly visible through the crinkled slits. His cheeks and corners of his mouth are stretched up, and almost all his teeth are clearly visible in his wide mouthed laugh. The teeth are meticulously crafted with handmade Nepali paper, very realistically. The eyes in all the masks are crafted with glass marbles embedded in a bed of Nepali paper, then covered with a layer of glossy varnish, thus making them come alive with different expressions. Archana knits the pieces of colored crocheted skins small and then stitches them together like grafting bits of skin on the flesh. But despite the colorful, patchy appearance of the exaggeratedly proportioned faces, they all bear an uncannily realistic look as though they are portraits of real people. It is perhaps this contrast between their realism and their obviously constructed look that imparts them with their very human, or rather inhuman, countenance. And in doing so, Archana Rajguru has proved herself to have truly mastered the art of crochet knitting to a standard that is quite unique and rare.
My name is Lala Rukh Selim and I live in Dhaka. I'm a Bangladeshi artist and I live and grew up in Dhaka. I studied art at the Faculty of Fine Art of the Dhaka University My specialization was sculpture for my bachelor's degree, and then I went on to study sculpture at Kala Bhavan, Vishwabharati. And at present, I'm a professor in the Department of Sculpture of the Dhaka University. And about my journey as an artist, I should say it has never been a very uninterrupted one. I have been working in bursts and spurts. I have also been writing on art, and I have done some research, and my areas of interest are women artists, sculpture, obviously, and also certain crafts of Bangladesh. And for my sculptural works, I have been, as an artist, I've mainly made sculptures, and I have used all kinds of fragile and materials, which I've not been very concerned about the permanence of my works, so which has given me a relative amount of freedom in my experimentation. And for the most part, I have been working on sculpture, but my recent works, the works that I have done during the coronavirus outbreak, the pandemic, has they are actually digital works. Very unusual for myself, really. I did a performance, and my son-in-law Afzal Hussain, he photographed me in various positions in the house, as it was quite a serious lockdown at that time, so we were all locked in the house. And after I saw the photographs, I felt that they did not convey the sense of being confined and being threatened and in danger as much as I would like to convey with the images. So I went on to scribble on my mobile phone, and I think it really I felt that it expressed much more what I felt at that point of time. And so I really enjoyed doing those works. And as I was saying, that I've always made work when I felt felt the urge to. I felt very passionately about something. It's as I've been saying, my work has never been a continuous flow. And every time I've started doing something, I feel that I have begun with something new. And I have seen my own work through fresh eyes, and actually seen the world through fresh eyes. So I find that quite interesting, because I have tried to combine my different selves as an artist, as a researcher on art, as a teacher, as a woman, as a mother, as part of my family. And I think that these works, which are basically myself in my home, show the kind of tension that was in the air at that particular time. So the basic thing is that the works are very different from what I have ever done before, which was quite an interesting aspect of myself that I discovered, that I could actually think of expressing myself in a digital media. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
Lala Rukh Selim studied sculpture at Dhaka University and Kala Bhavan, Shantiniketan. Presently, she teaches sculpture at Dhaka University in Bangladesh. Her present body of works for this exhibition, however, are digital and a complete breakaway from her usual art practice of sculpture. Sometimes it takes extraordinary situations to create extraordinary work. Thus, it was at the time of the peak of the pandemic when life had come to a standstill for the human race in general, and the world was overwhelmed with the extreme fear of imminent fatal illness overtaking anyone at any time. Lala Rukh Selim, or Todi as she is popularly known, responded to it in the only way possible for an artist. She decided to photograph herself in a surrealistic manner to express the angst that she was experiencing at the time. Tori, who has always been very close to her family and has lived with her mother forever and has been close to her brother, his family, her daughter, and son in law, was unnaturally and acutely affected by the ravaging pandemic ever since it started proliferating in Bangladesh. It bred in her an unknown growing terror. So, in a creative frenzy of catheterizing her inner fear and turmoil, she draped herself in a bright red sari, marched around in her house, and asked her son in law, Afzal Hussain, to photograph her in various poses as she moved around the house or rested. The decision was spontaneous, hence, the photography itself was done on a cell phone. But looking at the images afterwards, Tori was not satisfied with the result that she had expected or envisaged. The intensity of her emotional turmoil had not come across in the photographs, and her creative urge was frustrated. Perhaps out of this despondency, she did something again as impetuously as she had decided upon the self photography, and that might not even have happened if they had been thought out carefully under more normal circumstances. She began scribbling over them on the phone screen itself with her finger, digitally, to slowly engulf them like in a spider's web, or on a more sinister note, in a web of stringy ectoplasmic presence manifesting as spectral presence moving through a furnished house devoid of any human presence, like a hungry soul searching for something, resting sometimes, sitting on a chair or bed or lying down, all wrapped up in a red sari and scribbled lines as though captured in her own web. She had covered her face completely, rendering a sinister appearance to her blindly moving figure. The contrast between the busy lines of the figure and the polished, empty surface of the floor imparts a stealthy, weightless, and spooky silence to the scenes, where a spiraling web attaching her constantly to the ceiling or the wall contributes to the weightlessness of her appearance. When she is lying down in a bed, all bunched up in a bundle of clothes and webby lines, the appearance is that of a haunted room where a hungry spirit resides and nobody dares to enter. Overall feeling one gets from this series of works is one of bone chilling fear of the unknown, the fear of losing someone very close to us. The color red of the sari that Tori had worn contributed largely to the spookiness of the character she ultimately created. In her own words, red is a visceral color, the color of blood, internal organs. I was inside out, or maybe I was the womb, or maybe the embryo in it, or maybe the blood flowing through a network of channels, the clinging strands, the web we weave around us like a cocoon, or the web woven around us by some sinister predator. Mostly fear, mostly dread, mostly captured, mostly trapped, mostly pain. That network of channels or the web is what came out in her fingers in the form of the scribbled frenetic lines, which are white, blue, and red in color. Lines, the veiled red clad moving figure, seemingly omnipresent, together create the feelings of dread and uncertainty that can also be called premonition in retrospect. considering the events that followed in Todi's life thereafter. Both she and her mother contracted the COVID, and though she herself recovered, she lost her beloved mother. This body of her works hold a special significance in that respect because it's a tale of real life and death, real fear that gave birth to some uncanny and powerful images that were paradoxically conceived and executed in the least planned manner or with the least sophisticated equipment. Her digital images therefore attain a prophetic significance merely through a chronology of events in her life, a digital expressionism of the aesthetically truest kind. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Priyanka Bardiya and I'm one of the participating artists for Rasa Festival, the visual arts section that is being curated by Chandrima Bhattacharyya. A little bit about myself. I did my bachelor in painting from University of Rajasthan and then my master's in history of art from Kalapavan Shantiniketan. After that, I taught a little bit and I also run workshop for children from my studio in Pune. The artists, they respond to their surroundings as a human being, as a sensitive person, to everything that is around them, to every form of life that is around them. And art, in that sense, becomes a tool for them to map their responses. That's exactly how I look at my own art practice. The way I look at life, I feel life is a continuous flux of growth and decay. And in the process itself is very, very organic. The place where this is most reflected, to my eyes, is the natural world. That's why the things that are present in natural world, they come into my work automatically in form of trees, flowers, and many other things. I feel natural world is a sort of a kind of a microcosm for the entire life. When I say life, I mean the process of life, the growth, the organic growth, the decay, and everything in between. There is something very how do I say this? There's a natural process in that, and which you cannot control, and there's a sort of energy in that life. That energy is what I try to bring in my works through my lines, through my colors, through the layers that I create. If this world could sing a song, I feel it will be a song of life itself, and it is that very song that I'm trying to sing through my work. Yeah, thank you very much.
If one is asked to describe Priyanka Bardiya's art, it will be very difficult to comfortably fit her into any known category. Neither can one affirm with any conviction that her art, drawings, sculptures, or videos belong to any known genre. All three categories, in fact, seem to have been created by her to fit into her own special genre of art, which I have taken the liberty to call contemporary primitive. The primitive dominates, however, and hence all her artworks either evoke a primeval instinct in the perceptive viewer, or it transfers them into a magical world that is strangely devoid of oxygen, yet seem to be thriving on a different kind of air. Take, for instance, the Song of Life. It is a haiku of a film. Priyanka uses the minimalist approach in music and form. Only her forms are metamorphosing bits of lines and patches of colors drawn or applied as spontaneously as very young child. And being an adult, possibly she draws in a semi-unconscious manner as though from pure gut memory, or perhaps sensations dredged up from perceptions of things observed but half erased from childhood memories. In the film, this sensation takes on an added dimension of dream, wherein a flute plays a beautiful, nostalgic, repetitive tune, and a day seems to start with some sketchy birds flying away and a cat disappearing over the horizon as a blue smoke begins to billow up. In a childlike, crayon like drawing, the invisible hand changing the scene draws wide strokes of darkening blue and night falls. The scene changes seamlessly from day to evening to night, all as though it's the microcosmic universe living out its routine day. There is a feeling of everything, but really there's hardly anything except a cat, a bird, a man, and a tree, all drawn as though with fleeting lines. But there's constant movement in the short video, in stop motion, that endows it with the feeling of a smooth, even lyrical story of a regular, unhappening day with even a dollop of melancholy thrown in. Such an ephemeral drawing can be made into a video narrative that is complete and without any loose ends is quite an amazing achievement. Then there are her more elaborate works like the bird scroll, which is not really a scroll, but a large drawing that is folded over and has to be unfolded for the drama of a completely weird looking but nonetheless a completely gorgeous bird appear in all its glory, like a peacock that slowly shakes open its glorious tail. It's difficult to express, rather describe this apparently endless and mammoth bird sitting there heavily, its body in itself seemingly an entire jungle. As though the artist had started with the idea of drawing a jungle, forgotten after a while what she had intended to draw while enjoying the process of drawing innumerable lines, dots, thick and thin in many colors, meandering her way across the paper and then towards the end, finishing up with a bird's small head rather absent mindedly. The whole process is reminiscent of a child drawing with concentrated focus and then finishing up hurriedly when it loses patience in the end. The magnificent result is an entirely new species of primitive bird with an awkward body and a small head, but wildness so accurately yet unconsciously presented by the awry lines, patchily applied colors, and stuck on bits of paper, as though in an uncertain fashion, and yet the resultant image emerging as a powerful primeval bird form. Priyanka has added a bird called music that sits rather incongruously small in scale compared with the large appearance of the bird. That adds to the rather weird kind of appeal of the bird itself and brings it to life. Priyanka's works are vaguely reminiscent of the work of John Miro and to a small extent that of Paul Klee. The flow of the lines is lyrical, but more instinctive and abstract, because there is no predictability in the lines. In the works titled Trees and Berries, Tale of a Yellow Bird, A Golden Mountain and a Floating Cloud, the compositions are less complex than many of her others, and one can recognize the mountain shapes or the trees and berries easily. There is a series with trees which are far more densely composed. The lines are spontaneous as before, but the earlier childlike quality has gradually seemed to have grown up in terms of conscious movement, forming more recognizable forms. Priyanka seems to have matured in her style and has very delightfully managed to retain the totally unconscious quality of the drawing, as if the child has grown outwardly but has retained not just the same organic innocence but has added a wild, erotic quality to it. The convoluted character of the lines, the ciliated overgrowth, together somehow append this unconscious eroticism in many of these plant and flower drawings. Some of the drawings from this series are titled as The Big Blossom, A Bee in a Tree, A Little Golden Bird Came Out to Sing a Song, Did I See Some Bees Here? And The Giant Tree. Priyanka had been actively involved in conducting art classes with young children in the recent past and herself has a young child of her own. Close proximity with children's art seems to have influenced her profoundly in her own art. But that influence hasn't been superficial. It has touched the primeval instinct that is present in all of us, but which most of us are unable to dredge up from our subconscious and express in effective forms that she has been able to do. Either it's been a happy chance or sheer talent that has prompted Priyanka to take the unknown path, and that indeed displays a unique courage, quiet but determined. Recently, Priyanka has ventured into making small sculptures in polymer clay that carry the same sensibilities of amorphous ambiguity as her drawings, even imparting them with the same ciliated, drawing like quality with the help of thin curlicues of copper wire. Priyanka Bardiya, being an instinctive artist, naturally uses different media like ink, oil pastels, watercolor, and collage when she's working on paper, but some of her drawings are also digital, and the videos are an extension of those digital drawings, accompanied by simple music of the flute and bird or insect or other natural sounds. Although she says that she derives her inspiration from the world surrounding her, there is a sense of deeper, more primordial, yet mystical feeling about her work that connects them to the more profound truth of life, and that is, all life follows the inevitable cycle of birth, growth, and eventual decay and death. But the journey, like her delicate broken drawings, can be uncertain, can be rich too, as demonstrated by the simple flute music of her videos. Her work, drawings, videos, or sculpture, thus, in all their apparent playfulness, carry an undercurrent of dark, deep melancholia. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Saraswati and I live in South India and I was born in Russia. I'm ceramic artist and I do ceramics since I was 12 with my mother and other artists, but I never got any formal education in it. My today's works, they look like architectural structures. I feel that I need to grow. I grow vertically, I grow up, but not in organic forms, somehow in rather urban and technological things. These small white spikes that I poke into my structures, this is my recent addition, and I'm still very keen in developing that further because pre-fired elements, they allow you to bring into the rough old house, probably fired with wood, so very brown, very antique looking house, a bit of freshness and a bit of details and very meticulously done details. So since my recent topic also is urban garden, how to connect things that people build, abandon, live in it, with actual nature, which was always here and I hope always will be here. And I know that there is an answer where we can harmoniously live together, and I am trying to represent it, to show it in my pieces, and connecting also porcelain with stoneware, I believe it helps. When I work with porcelain, using the capacity of that material to portray very sensitive, very vulnerable part of probably human being, even though if I make a structure or if I make something from the nature, it's all about human beings, definitely. So porcelain helps to speak about how fragile everything is, what we value and what we love, and how we should probably be more focused on that and be more careful. I live in a community of integral yoga, and integral yoga supposes that each of us is just an instrument of the divine and trying to do the best without possessing the results of it. This helps me as an artist to actually become more courageous and to just help divine to represent itself, to manifest itself through me in my material, and I hope to become better in it with time.
Saraswati, originally named Renata Sereda, is a Russian-born ceramic artist who has been settled in Auroville, Pondicherry since 2004. She comes from an artistic family specializing in ceramics and had dabbled in the same from the very early age of 12, and even had her solo exhibition at the very young age of 19. She used to make miniaturist pieces, partly decorative, figurative, and pretty, reminiscent of Russian illustrative style of drawing. After she moved to Auroville, however, she gradually shed her miniaturist style and started working on larger pieces, more constructional and architectural, building them up with delicate cardboard like pieces, rickety and fragile, but strangely sophisticated, and that has remained her signature style till date. The current body of works are constructed and modeled out of both porcelain and stoneware. The two mediums have a diametrically opposite visual and intrinsic character. The earthiness and heaviness of stoneware contrasting with the creamy delicacy and inherent fragility of porcelain that immediately create the two opposite divine aspects of nature, the yin and the yang, the female and the male, the fragile and the strong. All her pieces are very whimsical in composition, as though put together by a child, with a spontaneity of construction that contrasts again with the surprisingly well modeled realistic structures that she often incorporates out of nowhere without any rhyme or reason other than just building something. In effect, these constructions are somewhat surrealistic, especially when these realistic elements are combined with mostly flat pieces of thin porcelain wafers or stoneware slabs. Then again, they take on the appearance of a child's composition when the rough and basic house like structures grow upwards in layers, just as a child would add floors to the toy house it's building with clay. The floors are filled with abstract bits and pieces of clay, sometimes uneven slabs, creating an impression of a partition or wall, at others, odd shaped elements like golf balls on their tees, pricked spheres, a pepper, or delicate petal flowers, and overall creating a rather cozy kind of lived in space like sensation in this rather basic house forms. The beholder is struck with the feeling of the artist's perhaps childhood memories of such a home, long forgotten, but emerging out of the depths of the subconscious to form these rather endearing toy like rickety homes, reminiscent of the drawings of Joan Miró and Paul Klee in 3 dimensions. Earlier, Saraswati preferred to use porcelain and has started working with stoneware much later. Porcelain being a fragile and delicate looking medium with a creamy, smooth surface, and the manner in which Saraswati molds it delicately into wafer thin and intricate floral and fruit and vegetable forms, formally perfect, with delicately applied bright or pastel colors arranged decoratively on a platter, impart in them the appearance of a plateful of some exotic confectionery. Stoneware being a more pliable medium, Saraswati has exploded by making more rounded, organic, and realistic objects like corn cobs, pumpkins, or spherical or other kinds of rounded forms, building another kind of composite form not unlike the cornucopia of classical antiquity, which symbolizes a good harvest. But her cornucopia emerges out of a watering can, which may, for her, symbolize a bountiful garden. Saraswati's works carry the element of childlike constructional quality, possibly because she started very early as a ceramic artist, and the fact that she teaches children aged 7 to 17 regularly at the White Peacock, a school that she started in Oroville, has perhaps influenced this childlike quality in her work. His ability to visualize and work like a child so naturally by an adult artist is rare. And like Priyanka, Saraswati, in her higgledy-piggledy but charming manner, has achieved this precious quality which has helped in placing her ceramic art in a class of its own. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sudatta Choudhury, an artist from Kolkata, and I did my master degree MBA from Rabindranath University, Jorashako, Kolkata. And before that, I did the graduation BBA from Indian College of Arts and Craftsmanship, Kolkata. And at first I'm very much grateful to Seoshidi and Chandrima for giving such a platform. This is in this the wonderful conceptualized this festival, and so my heartfelt gratitude with them. I love to say some few words on my work. My work is just mostly like an autobiographical journey, which is extracted from my life, which is surrounded me, and whatever I see, whatever I feel, what is happening around me. And I think the most of viewers, as an woman, what I see, I faces some social barriers, social gender inequality, and some discrimination. So I think the in each and every corner of the world, each and every woman always can it's possible to relate my subject matter when they see the in front of my painting, because some problems, social issues are very common and some universal in their way. And after that, I always, of course, I love to mention my medium, because it's medium, and according to the medium, I was very sensitive, and I'm very sensitive and very choosy, some kind of. Because I always love to work the mixed media, and for as a media, I always choose some types of stickers, and it may be the some rice paper or handmade paper, some sanitaries, napkin, and some threads, dry seeds, dry leaves also. And sometimes they are amalgamated with the ink and the glitter, some touring paper which is stitched on the canvases. So in this different kind of materials I used to my painting or drawing, which is I feel the very relevant to my subject matter.
Sudatta Basu Choudhury is a mid career artist from Bengal. She completed her master's degree in painting from Rabindra Bharati University, Kolkata, and has since been regularly drawing and painting and participating in various artistic events like exhibitions, workshops, apart from being a dedicated mother, wife, and a full time school teacher. Sudatta is the kind of artist for whom art is a journey of her own body and soul. Her works therefore carry that visceral quality that imparts a kind of rawness to them, despite her apparent and deliberate attempts at lightening the spirit of her work with pretty, commercial stickers and bright, colorful additions of fruits and flower forms that are actually body organs. In Stillness of Wound Number 1, a pomegranate like form hangs in midair, seemingly spouting forth red pink butterflies and a mesh of golden threads. The picture is pretty and cheerful, but another closer look, when one notices that the pomegranate is some inner body part resembling the uterus, while there is a skeleton torso drawn delicately beside it, almost like branches of an old tree. There is a strenuous dichotomy in most of her paintings between the delicate, beautiful, colorful butterflies, which naturally imply the fragile and the ephemeral, both essential qualities of life, and earthy, solid elements like flesh and blood, organs and bones of the body, and such like. But the representation of them on paper is just the opposite of their character. She uses a very light touch to draw her sparse figures and other elements of a composition, and these are hardly visible, almost ephemeral in appearance and existence, against which the glossy butterfly stickers that she uses profusely seem to stridently announce the unpredictability of life again and again. She uses different media like graphite, tissues, stickers, and watercolors to create each work, to render variations in the surface texture. Stillness of a Wound 2 and Stillness of a Wound 3 follow the first painting. All three works were the fruit of the very real physical and mental trauma that Sudatta had suffered for a long time during the first months of the COVID invasion, when she was badly injured in the spine. It was a tough and uncertain time for her, for she, a working woman, was scared of losing her job. Her physical trauma was great and a constant reminder of the vulnerability of human life. But as soon as she could, she started to paint again and created these three works, in which this frailty and uncertainty of human existence was expressed cleverly in a veiled, symbolical manner and subtly, yet with a lot of raw pain unabashedly visible in them. There are glossy butterflies and subtly drawn and colored anatomical parts, closely resembling fruit and flowers, thus rendering the paintings with an immediate attractiveness, which is indeed the USP of all of Sudatta's work. Her drawing is skillful, and although very finely drawn, they have a strange rawness to them, which is paradoxical with her treatment of her themes. For instance, in Stillness of Wound 3, the soles of the feet carry an odd kind of raw eroticism, although the feet may belong to a dead person, because soles of feet are hardly visible in public domain. Hence, they have an element of being very personal. Like the butterfly, which is traditionally a symbol of metamorphosis of life through death and rebirth, Sudatta uses other such elements repeatedly, like the cilia or thread like forms, for her represents nerves that equate pain and suffering, both physical and psychological. She often uses real organic objects like dried leaves and flowers to enhance the surface quality of her work. Figures appear on and off in her paintings as whole entities, but not as figural representation per se, but more as part of the thematic interest. In paintings like The Conjuring Heart and Imprisoned Tongue, she uses these organs in the titles as the subject of her work. They have a very motile presence, created both instinctively and cleverly through lines, dots, and various semi organic shapes, all moving away in random different directions. The arteries appear to be sprouting leaves, and the heart seems to be hanging heavily from a fragile blue toy parachute like structure, with butterflies fluttering beneath the parasol as though encouraging the aching, heavy heart to make a futile, impossible flight away from the inescapable travails of life. It is the same story in The Imprisoned Tongue. Clouds the Clearing, Peacock Lady, and Converging Conclave. These are all figurative elaboration of different states of Sudatta's mental state during the past 2 years of confinement at home and as a school teacher working from home. She dons multiple cloaks of responsibilities to keep her family going, that of a wife and mother, a working woman, a housewife, and perhaps lastly of an artist. Two earlier paintings featuring Frida Kahlo, titled Feeling Like Frida Face to Face and Feeling Like Frida Confined Life, are perhaps the two works that describe the true persona of Sudatta. Like most, like most women artists, she is a great admirer of Frida Kahlo. She feels a special bond with Frida because, like Frida, she too had been confined to her bed, barely able to move and unable to paint, with a broken spine for a very long time. Perhaps the hidden streak of narcissism dormant in all creative people comes to play here in identifying the self with an iconic artist. But in doing so, she has effectively expressed in a minimalistic fashion the trauma of her pain and uncertainty of her future. Another work, The Prajapati Biscuit, very simply shows how life was imprisoned like a butterfly, or Prajapati as it is called in Bengali, in a jar during the pandemic lockdown. Prajapati biscuit is a typical Bengali pastry biscuit popular at roadside tea stalls, and it owes its name to its vaguely butterfly like form. It's basically her predilection for her colorful butterfly motifs that has formed the basis of this work. The title is a poetic, rather whimsical metaphor for the theme, and in itself unique. Sudatta Basu Choudhury is rather a unique artist who doesn't follow any trend or fad or any particular familiar style. With every painting, she rediscovers herself, adding all sorts of extraneous materials, organic or artificial, entering beautiful, delicate drawings to add to the cadence of her work. Thank you.